Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free. This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you, the people you work with, the people you care about, the people you love.
President Biden's new plan to fight COVID-19 now requiring all employers with 100 or more workers to fully vaccinate their workforces or show a negative test at least once a week. The effort's also impacting hospitals, home health care facilities, and all the executive branch federal workers and even federal contractors. But our next guest says these mandates are missing the mark. Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier joins us now. Good morning, Dr. Saphier.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. The executive branch, they don't have a choice. They all have to get vaccinated. Federal contractors have to get vaccinated. They don't even have the option to test every week. And I heard Claudia Tenney, a congresswoman from New York, this morning say she had 2 constituents call her and say they were pregnant. Their doctors told them not to get the vaccine until after the baby was born, and they were fired. What do you say about this?
Well, I can tell you, Ainsley, throughout the country right now, we are starting to see shortages in staffing, whether it's nurses, technologists, and now I suspect you're going to see other staffing shortages coming from these new mandates. And these are all man-made shortages. There were a few things, Ainsley, yesterday that I heard President Biden say that I liked. He discussed increasing production of the monoclonal antibodies. That's great. We need those. Are proven effective to keep people out of the hospital. He didn't go far enough saying that he was going to expand access to outpatient centers and even primary care doctors to be able to give those monoclonal antibodies. So that doesn't help that much. He also said he was going to increase production of those rapid antigen tests through the Defense Production Act. That's great. But what he didn't say is he didn't say that those rapid tests are going to be in lieu of children having to be kept home in quarantines because of close contacts or even employees. We need to move the mark forward to actually help people. We need to keep our children in school with these rapid tests. We need to keep people at work because we have so many people unnecessarily quarantining. So again, he didn't go far enough. And if you think his obvious disdain for the people who have not gotten vaccinated helps people like me convince the vaccine hesitant to get vaccinated, you're absolutely wrong. And so moving forward, by saying that he wants to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated with these mandates, he's just further undermining the confidence in the vaccines. The message should be these vaccines are doing a great job at protecting people from severe illness and death, and he should encourage everyone to talk to their doctors. But unfortunately, he continued with his groupthink regarding vaccines, which is completely wrong. They are far too black and white. They are not providing medical exemptions for some people who may have some sort of medical condition where their physician doesn't believe they should be vaccinated, or maybe they've already recovered from COVID-19 and have natural immunity and likely don't need 2 doses. This groupthink is completely wrong, and the Biden administration continues to miss the mark by not following the science.
There are reports that some women say they've seen changes in their monthly cycles. Have we studied how this affects reproduction for folks who have had the vaccine?
Well, the NIH is now putting forth about $1.5 million to various institutions across the study because there have been reports about that. But I don't want people to get concerned about that because you have to know when it comes to menstrual cycles, a lot of things can alter that. Heavy exercising, stress, medications, and just daily life can alter your menstrual cycle. Because of reports of it, they are going to look into it, but it's possible the inflammation from the vaccine may have changed a cycle for a month or 2. This doesn't translate to long-term fertility issues.
There is a professor at the University of California, and he's suing over the vaccine mandate because he says he has natural immunity. Is that something that they should consider? If you have natural immunity, do you have to get the vaccine if there's a mandate?
I think it is high time the CDC, other elite institutions, and Biden administration start acknowledging the ample data that shows that there is protection from natural immunity. The CDC's website only discusses one small case control study out of Kentucky that showed that there was a higher rate of reinfection following infection than vaccination. But that goes against all of these other studies throughout the United States and throughout the world, which are much larger studies that show there is great protection from natural natural immunity. There's also very good protection, even better, from one dose of the vaccine following infection. They don't necessarily need that second dose. Why they cannot get past this black and white, everyone needs the 2 doses, it really boggles the mind. The CDC acknowledges natural immunity with so many other viral infections, but they're getting in their own way right now when it comes to acknowledging natural immunity. We need to focus on the people who are not vaccinated, who have not recovered from COVID-19. Those people still remain the most vulnerable.
Dr. Saphier, thank you.
Thank you, Ainsley.
You're welcome.